Good evening. Welcome to the Design Review Board meeting of August 11th, 2022. The Design Review Board meeting is now called to order. Please silence all cell phones at this time. The DRB meeting is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable Channel 6 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage, glendale.ca/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing at any time at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. Again, that's 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by visiting our website at glendaleca.gov. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. Please note that any appeal of a case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The appeal application is also available online. In terms of a roll call, Board Member Lockeruff? Present. Board Member Minas is absent. Board Member Chagayan? Present. Board Member Welch?
Present.
And Chair Simonian? Chair Simonian is absent also. Given that our chair is not here, we would need to have an election of Chair Pro Tem. Is there a nomination for this meeting?
I nominate Board Member Nina
Chagayan. Thank you, Board Member Wells. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Board Member Lockeruff. I'm assuming that all in favor?
All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Thank you. So Chair Pro Tem Chagayan. Just to continue on with the agenda for the August 11th, 2022 regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board was posted on the city's website on August 4th, 2022, and on the bulletin board outside City Hall on August 8th, 2022. Approval of minutes. These would be the minutes from our July 14th meeting date. Board Member Lockeruff was absent. In this case, I'm not sure if you'd like to vote on them simply because we do have two board members that were present, or if you'd like to continue on to the next meeting, it is up to you.
Is two board members sufficient, or?
Well, given the fact that we had four board members present, Board Member Lockeruff was absent and two are present, I'm not sure if we probably would want a majority, so I might recommend continuing on to the next meeting.
Let's continue it on then.
Unless you have questions or comments regarding the minutes.
No.
Okay. So we will continue those to the meeting of August the 25th. Next up on the agenda, oral communications. I do not have any oral communication cards submitted, and I do not see any callers that have called in as well. So with that said, we go to our regular agenda for new business. We have one case on tonight's agenda. I'd either turn it over to Chair Pro Tem to start the meeting or to Case Planner Milka Toledo to continue with her staff presentation.
Let's go ahead and turn it over to Milka, please.
And one moment. Get that up. Pardon? Yes. And then let me. There you go.
Okay, good evening, board members. This only item before you today is the Honda dealership project located at 1231 through 1265 South Brand Boulevard.
Try it again.
There we go. The proposal is to demolish 4 existing one-story commercial automobile dealerships These consist of 4 buildings, a combined total of 14,118 square feet, and that includes vehicle sales showroom, repair, and storage buildings. And they're proposing to maintain an existing 3,175, is that you or me? Okay. 3,175 square foot workshop/car wash building, and they are proposing to construct a new 54,000 square foot auto dealership for Honda. They're also proposing a 1,500 square foot service canopy, a reception area, and the existing 3,175 square foot workshop would remain, and it's part of the project. The project will be constructed in 2 separate phases across the entire site. The first level includes a service, again, the reception canopy, the dealership showroom, the sales office, storage parts, vehicle sales on the ground level. And then on the second level, it will include office area, parts storage, vehicle inventory, parking, and customer employee parking are located both on the ground level and on the rooftop. And access to the reception area will be from Magnolia Avenue, and vehicle access, entrance and exit is to the dealership is from both Moran and Magnolia. The project does have a notice of intent that was originally adopted, an MND, for the parking reduction permit that was originally reviewed and approved by the planning hearing officer. There was a comment period. We didn't receive comments during the 20-day review period, and the planning hearing officer adopted the final mitigated neg deck along with the approval of the parking reduction permit. Existing site characteristics associated with the property, as I mentioned earlier, it's a total of 70,718 square feet. It is located in the commercial auto zone, South Brand Boulevard corridor of cars. The location's on the west side of South Brand, between Magnolia and Cypress. There is currently a Honda dealership there now. Again, it is developed, and as I stated earlier, they're making obviously some significant changes to the site, maintaining 1 building, demolishing 4, and building the new one. In terms of location, briefly, I just talked about that, the location as it relates to in the CA zone, it is surrounded by commercial auto across the street to the east, to the north, and to the south. And there are residential uses across the alley to the west, and that's very common in that area as well. But the site does not abut any residential properties. Again, it's separated by a 20-foot public alley. Some pictures of the existing site and the existing Honda dealership currently there now. Just a little insight as to what is there and the buildings that are proposed to be demolished and the one that's existing to remain adjacent to the alley. That's going to be the car wash / workshop room. This is the proposed site plan. And the new building on the right-hand side of your screen, a service area right in the middle. That's the service canopy, and again, the workshop / car wash adjacent to the alley. And vehicular access from Brand, as you can see, to the commercial, or I should say for the employees or customers rather, they can ingress and egress from the new driveway proposed on Brand Boulevard. And there's the vehicle inventory on the left-hand side of your screen, proposed on the ground level, and then there's access from Magnolia for vehicular circulation. The proposed site plan where they're required to provide landscape buffer between the right-of-way and the parking area, and they're also providing the required landscaping within the customer parking area as well, and at different strategic areas around the site or adjacent to the building. Proposed floor plan, first floor and second floor, kind of went over what they're proposing on each level earlier, and that information is also in your packet. So again, the first floor includes the service reception canopy, the dealership showroom, the sales office, parts and vehicle service area, and then on the second floor, it includes the office, more offices, parts storage and vehicular inventory, and customer employee parking on the roof deck. The roof plan is basically the parking area, again, for customers and employees. It is open to the sky, and it has 61 parking spaces proposed. This would be the view from Brand Boulevard, the east facade. So the project's primary frontage, again, facing Brand Boulevard. As you know, this street is one of the widest streets in the southern portion of the city with 120 feet width, right-of-way width. The east facade of the building is appropriately articulated through the use of glazing, which wraps along a portion of the north and south facades. The building's main entrance to the service garage and the canopy and the detached car wash are all facing and accessible from Magnolia. And the height of the mass, or I should say the building's height and the mass of the new two-story building is compatible with the area and the varied buildings that are in the vicinity. This is another view, the north side facing Magnolia Avenue, where the building is actually separated by the parking area for their vehicle inventory area. And that is the location where vehicles can access the service canopy where they would drive in into that reception area. They've chosen more of a contemporary design, which includes, again, a variety of architectural elements, including metal panels and glazing to help enliven the building's appearance. The mass and scale of the building is appropriate and designed to fit within the neighborhood context, and its, again, massing and articulation reflects the development pattern of other automobile dealerships along Brand Boulevard. This is the facade facing the alley. And this would be the southeast view facing the corner at the southeast, I should say, yeah, southeast corner of Cypress and Brand Boulevard, where they're proposing to angle to have some room to park vehicle, like a vehicle show, if you will, or display, with obviously glazing at the corner that wraps both along Brand and Cypress. So as I mentioned earlier, they've appropriately broken up the smaller masses and volumes through the use of glazing, metal cladding, color combination, and breaks in plane, which is a technique used to help reduce bulk and mass, especially along certain facades that are visible, including the north and east, and as well as the south facades. And that's a technique which, again, helps reduce the bulk and mass, and it is in keeping with the South Glendale Community Plan and Design Guidelines. And to further articulate and soften the building wall along the south facade facing Cypress. Staff is recommending that they introduce more landscaping in that area to soften the wall by introducing a planter at the base of the building with like a creeping vine, if you will, some sort of green wall. So that's something to consider. And this is just an elevation of the surface canopy. As you enter from Magnolia, the reception area for customers to drive up. The materials and color palette that they're proposing, which is also in your packet. And it's also dictated on their Honda's company, if you will, and their product or their brand. And the applicant could also speak a little more on that point. So staff is recommending that the board approve the project, subject to the conditions included in your staff report, to provide a cut sheet of the decorative paving proposed for the driveways and the pedestrian walk in the automobile contact zone for staff review and approval, to depict the planters in the city's parkway to the satisfaction of the city's urban forestry section. They had some comments, and the applicant is aware of that. Also to further articulate, and we just spoke briefly about it, or further articulate the facades by introducing some landscaping, especially along the Cypress facade, to submit drawings of details of all junctions where different materials intersect and how they wrap and turn corners for staff review, and just a general condition that all signs proposed on the site and on the building, they're shown on the plans for purposes of representation, but that is not part of your approval today. Those signs will require a separate permit and review. So with that, I will conclude my remarks. If you have any questions, I am available to answer them.
That's, when you talk about signage, that includes the big Honda written on the
Yes,
side?
the ground signs, any type of sign.
Okay.
Ground signs, wall signs, marquee signs, projecting signs, all signs.
Do we have any other questions for Milka?
I do have a question. Just in terms of the landscape plan, did you receive anything in addition to this app?
No, this is all I've received.
Okay, even after Urban Forestry gave their comments. Okay.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, I guess we can invite the applicant up to speak. Mr. Daniel Lin.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dan. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and the owner of the dealership. We don't have a presentation, but we do have our architects here. They can answer any questions you have regarding the design of the building. And I just want to say that we're very excited to be at this point in the project, and even more excited to be equally close to exiting our old facility, which is quite old. So with that said, if you have any questions about the dealership, I can answer. Otherwise, our architects are here to respond to any questions.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant or architect? For the architect, okay. So if we want to invite Walt Wagner.
Hi, my name is
Hello.
Walt Wagner. My office is in Oceanside, California. We specialize in the design of automobile dealerships.
Great, welcome.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. So I have a few questions, just some clarifications and then some deeper questions. First of all, I saw that there's some discrepancy in some of the plans, like particularly the grading and landscaping plans that show on the northeast corner of the building, it seems to show a round shape there, but on the final architectural drawings, it looks like it's just straight rectilinear.
So the history of this project, as Milka can attest, we've been working on this project for some time, and we had a complete design around a Honda dealership that you've probably seen in other cities where it has a cylinder and then a wave. Well, when we were sort of through one design review, actually, they changed their corporate image for dealerships. And it's simplified it. It's just this simple, blue band, more of a rectilinear building without the wave and other accoutrements. So we've been following that. And what you're seeing there is a holdover from the first design that we had, where we had an entry at the corner, which was that round cylinder. Mm-hmm. That's an error on our part.
So that would be what you would consider the Generation 3 design?
3, exactly.
And this is representative of the Generation 4?
Right.
Okay. All right. That clarifies some of the other questions that I had, because it's clearly I did a little research on these and saw most of the designs that I see out there, have these prominent blue cylinders and the wavy lines, which, were even included on the materials board here. So.
Right, so we had everything done for that project, actually we went through a lot of this, and I guess just in the drafting of this, and especially looking at what came from the civil engineer, who's been less involved in the more recent, generation of Honda design. They're still using some of the older.
Okay, all right. So the next question is relating to, there appears to be a staircase near that front facade, the storefront there, that goes up, but it doesn't appear on the second floor. So I don't know if that's just another relic, perhaps, or if that actually is intended to be something that would be seen through the storefronts, rising to a mezzanine, perhaps, or something. It's just not clear to me.
That is a holdover from that earlier design. Again, okay. and I hope that that's only on the civil drawing and not...
No, it's actually on the finished ones too, it appears.
Okay.
And on a related note, there's on the second floor plan, that northeast corner again shows as open to below, as though that section is a 2-story, but it doesn't appear that way when I look at all of the renderings and elevations. It looks like that the second story covers that section.
We have always intended to have a sort of a ceremonial stair that goes from the ground floor up only to the second floor.
Okay.
We do have, you'll see, in other locations on the south and north end, we do have stairs that are for exiting, but yeah, this stair just would go from the ground floor up to the second floor.
Okay. So I think the renderings then perhaps are not accurately showing what the floor treatment would be at those corners. Okay. Okay.
So, sorry, I guess to piggyback on that, you're saying it's the curved stair that we're seeing in the plan, not the straight one?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And then another clarification, I think I've got it correct that the angled one on that would be the south east corner, where it's like the not the curve, but it's just angled. The material finish on that is going to be the darker metal panels.
Yeah, it's more of a gray metal panel. We didn't want to use the corporate colors there. We want those to be at the entry, or where the showroom is. This is sort of a secondary facade, but when you're driving north on Brand, it would be very prominent and announce that this is the Honda dealership.
And at that corner, there would be a vehicle display on both the ground floor and on the second floor?
And it could be. We would have glass that would be in both of those locations. And of course, and the grade does fall across that. As you're going south on Brand, the grade goes down. And so that's slightly elevated from the ground.
Finally, the service canopy, have you, does that necessarily need to follow the exact pattern as laid out here in this design? Or do you have, I understand, you guys, there's a brand style guide, you're basically handed over, you have to follow, from that book, but I'm just curious what kind of flexibility you have in terms of scale, potentially brightening or using increased use of colors or anything like that?
It was always envisioned that this would be the first phase of a design which may well incorporate most of the vacant, parcels to the north. So that's almost a throwaway element. As time goes on, we realize that we're going to need more service space. So we have actually, a future phase where we've designed more service space along the alley and then a much grander service reception canopy that you would come in and you make a turn and then it would be part of the whole building instead of.
I see. So it might be fair to consider this as phase one with a
It could be,
potential
but we
later
don't know
phase.
exactly when phase two is gonna,
Okay.
will happen.
Okay. Does the applicant have any insight into that to share?
Yeah, sure. The canopy kind of occupies the space where the future service drive would be. Of course, it is a customer touch point, so we do want to make sure it's, one, compliant with Honda's image, but two, also that it's somewhat impressive. It's a lot of people are going to be coming in for service, more so than sales, and that's the first thing that they're going to see. That's where they're going to be checked in. That's probably pretty close to where they're going to pick up their cars as well. So it is a temporary structure pending the development of future phases. The future phase, we've been, I think, fairly creative. They've done a really good job of giving us the optionality to extend it a variety of different lengths up the rest of the parcels. So presumably sometime in the future, as service demand dictates, we would expand the building, add more service space, and incorporate that service drive into the main building.
Well, if I understand from what I read regarding this Generation 4 design, that it's really more intended to be scaled down as opposed to be the big, ginormous sort of dealerships.
Yes, I think the canopy only really accommodates 6 cars, roughly 6 cars. That's not a lot more than our current capacity. It's far more efficiently configured, so throughput should be faster. The service drive itself would be probably larger in the future phase, but it will not be, it's not like of the dealerships of old where you have 4 lanes of 10 cars or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think my final question is, in the plans, there's very limited amount of landscaping provided in this design, and I found a reference to a vehicle display, which was pointing to one of the only areas for landscaping. Is that actually intended to be a vehicle display space, or is it intended to be landscaping?
Is that
Site plan?
I
On
think
the site plan,
you're
yes,
talking
like
about the one
right here on this
right off
layout.
brand, right?
Yes, right on brand, right, like smack in the center of the plan, right next to the Brand Avenue entrance.
Next to the new driveway, to the left, yes.
What? You can come, sure, we'll put your name on.
Hi, Dan, I work with Walt. The intention
Sorry,
of-
can you state your name, please, for the record?
My name is Brian McDermott, and I work with Wagner Architecture. The intent of the landscaped area at the entry there was to try and incorporate some decorative paving, which it was our understanding that a certain percentage of your landscaping could be decorative paving. So that was our design intent at that corner, for it to be some enhanced decorative paving that we could use for a car display.
I see, okay. Those were my questions, so, thank you.
I have a few additional questions. Given the urban forestry report, did you at all rethink the landscaping plan? Or sometimes applicants have information on what they plan to do to address the conditions?
I'm not sure that I'm familiar with exactly what it may have been there, but we have a large building and that we've complied with the landscape requirements. And again, we're
You might,
not.
sir, you might need to step into the podium to speak to the microphone. Not
We're
necessarily
not, again, because this is a first phase of a project, we're trying to keep as much of the area open so that when we do expand it, we're not having a lot of landscape in a parking area that's going to be converted to a building.
Okay. And I also have a question. You mentioned that initially you had curves in the design, but that was eliminated, and that was something I was actually thinking about. In that one corner on the south, where there's this kind of angle, I was wondering if you at one point had a curve on that corner, or rather than, okay.
No, we actually, even when we had a curve on the northeast corner, on the southeast corner, we always had the chamfer, largely so that we could put a sign up there that would be easily read, saying HONDA.
Gotcha. And then also, it's just regarding the south facade. I don't know if you can pull that up.
Keep south facade.
Oh, right. Oh, but that's a great rendering of it. Yeah, if you could go back to the rendering. That's
That's the alley.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Did you consider any articulation or design development on the south facade beyond, has this been modified over time? I'd love to hear, and what might be planned too in this area.
It has. Of course, we wanted, as we were moving away from brand, we always sort of wanted this to step down with using some nicer aluminum composite metal panels on the corner, and then as it goes around and step down, where we could then also, as we're turning the corner on the alley, we tried to enhance that with, different color and different materials. So that's where it came from, but it's largely a parking structure on the south side, except for the glass area is where the parking ends. We have some parts department where we put some windows. We put some clear story windows in for the service bays. And then we have maybe some small openings or something on the other sides, but it is virtually, all parking up there.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any further questions. Do we have any callers?
We have no callers.
Okay. So
If you have any other questions for the applicant or the architectural team, you're welcome to ask at this time. Otherwise, you can close the public hearing and deliberate amongst yourselves. If there are additional questions that come up, you can always reopen the public hearing.
okay. Shall we go ahead and close the public hearing? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to start us off? Board Member Welch?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so for me, the dealership zone in Glendale is really one of the few places where I think we can actually try to be more creative, more playful. So when I first saw this design and compared it, because I'd seen other Honda dealerships, and I don't remember them being this sort of rectilinear and sort of very simple. So I did some research and confirmed that, that more recent designs had included these brighter blue elements, the cylindrical corner element, the sort of playful, sort of wavy awning structure there. And I said, well, I think that would be better. I think that's this design, while it's nice and clean, I'm not going to dispute that, but I just think that it misses an opportunity to be a lot more playful and creative. And like I said earlier, I understand you're sort of restricted in what Honda dictates with their branding, you know, the style guide and all that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, I want to try and make a few suggestions here, and potentially, you know, we can make some of these intakes, some conditions that the staff can work with you on trying to improve the design. Because the first thing that really jumps out to me is that I don't know where the entrance is. I can't tell by looking at that facade, where is the entrance? My first indication is that it would be on that corner there with the different shape and the distinguishing color, but it's not. It's actually on the other side, on the side. So to me, that's certainly, first of all, it doesn't fit with our design guidelines in the city, because we want to have more prominence to entranceways. So I think something needs to be done to create more of a sense of an entrance, to make it clear where the entrance is, because I don't think that this design does that. I don't mind, you know, simplicity, but I certainly would encourage some more playfulness or creativity brought to bear in some way. And maybe the place to do that is with the service canopy. To me, when I look at the service canopy, it's you know, shrunken and tiny compared to the scale of the building that's behind it. And especially if you want to make it, you know, a welcoming space and prominent and very easy to see for consumers, playing that up, either increasing scale of it, increasing the prominence of the colors used on it, perhaps can help draw additional attention to it. And I think given that it might be a more temporary situation and later replaced with something else, I think that's probably some way where you could maybe deviate from your design straitjacket and be a little bit more creative, and that can help bring about some more liveliness to the design. I definitely concur with staff's conditions as laid out, particularly on that south facade. I think it's not fully worked out. I think that it needs some additional work, whether it's colored, you know, landscaping, something. It comes across as a parking structure, and you know, it is still a prominent facade, very visible. Across the street is just an open lot, so it's very visible from anyone coming up Brand Boulevard. So I would encourage us to work on something that's a little bit more in keeping with the overall character of the style of the building. And lastly, well, two last things. The use of a chain link fence, I don't think is good. I know you say maybe it's just a temporary situation and maybe it will be changed, but we have to make a judgment here based on what's presented, and if a chain link fence is intended to be permanent, I say I don't approve of that. I don't like chain link fences, even if it's colored black with plastic pieces in there. I think we could do better than that. And then the building that's being retained behind that, there's no drawings of that. I don't know how that looks. So I would encourage us to have a condition that the design of that be shown, be cleared, you know, that it be consistent with the new building, so that we don't have any kind of disconnect there. And even though it's existing building, I still think it's important that the entire lot be considered a holistic design. So that would be something else that I would make a recommendation on as well. I think that's most of my thoughts. So I'll turn it over to my fellow commissioners to weigh in as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Board Member Welsh, Board Member Lockeroff.
Yes, I think overall, this project is going to be a great improvement. I'm really happy that you're taking all the small buildings and consolidating into one, and I think the use is appropriate for the area. And so thank you. I do agree with Board Member Welsh in that I would like to see more vegetation. I agree in terms of the chain link fence being not up to the material standards that we expect in the review board. Also, I would love to, I feel like the materials were, I know that they are dictated to you, but I just felt like they weren't as developed as, I appreciated staff's recommendation for more details on how they come together. I do think that rethinking the corner that what we were discussing that just has the flat angle is such an opportunity there to be playful also, And I am kind of missing the rounded, the rounded bits that you had in this previous plan that were showing up. And in that one area that we discussed regarding where you had pavers that was considered vegetation, I would really either have actual vegetation there or replace it somewhere else, you know? I think that it can really add to a customer's experience too, to have green, especially when you're relaxing and waiting for your car. And regarding waiting for your car, the canopy, the customer services canopy, I think that was a really great point, that's a great spot to develop. And I would love to see a condition regarding just the aesthetics of the roof in particular of that canopy. It's kind of blocky and doesn't have a good balance yet. And it does seem like something that I could see that it was temporary probably. And so but maybe you can, it's something temporary that is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And then lastly, can you bring up the south facade again? The one corner view that you had earlier was super helpful.
This one, or would you like one that is the perspective?
The perspective actually is really helpful. I do think I understand that it's parking, but there are several tactics that you can use with garages to make them more articulated and beyond just vines, but the structures that hold them, or even just kind of bumping things in and out a little bit. I just think it needs a little more definition, especially for the people across the street from this structure. And let's. Overall, I really am excited about this project happening. So, right, these are just great conditions that I think that should be implemented to not only help the community, but for your project as well. Let's see. I think if anything else, I'll bring it up later. But
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask a clarifying question to the architect? Okay.
Can you open up the hearing and then invite him to the podium, please?
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and close the hearing and invite Mr. Wagner back. You mentioned that this iteration of the design changed due to a design review board. Was that a different city?
Not the design review
Or during a
board.
design review?
It was American Honda who changed their mandates for dealership design. But we had gone through the design review with it, like you say, the round cylinder on one corner and then the flattened, the angled one on the other corner.
I see. And even though they have existing dealerships of that nature, they wanted to move away from that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's sort of the retail mode, every 5-10 years, you change the image, and this is the newest version. And they've had, the cylinder and the wave for, gosh, probably 20 years now. So they feel like it's worn out, and it's time for a new look.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, I guess we'll close back the public hearing. I'll go ahead and give my thoughts, but I concur with my fellow board members that I thought the same thing, that this would have been the opportunity to maybe see something a little bit more playful, as Board Member Welsh put it. So, but understanding that the brand is I guess, leaning towards a new direction, it's understandable. The design is still lovely. It's simple and clean. So there's nothing wrong with it there, but I do agree with the few conditions that were tossed out or thrown around. The more sense of an entrance, the canopy design, I agree with my fellow board members. So if we can incorporate these, or if we had any other ones, sorry, the existing building to integrate well with the new design, and then the chain link fence, I would agree with that as well. Especially the south side, agree with the staff's conditions to incorporate more landscaping on that side. and the alley side. But all in all, in favor of the project with the stated conditions.
I'm just writing some down, so bear with me.
Do you want to do a read back for us so we can move that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Did you want me to? Okay, good. No particular order, but I did also, Board Member Welch, at one point you had mentioned about the plans, there were some inconsistencies.
I don't think that they're material, but I think that, certainly they would want to make those clarified
Right.
in the final plan, so.
So I just wrote, just for the record, and if you don't want this, we can strike it, but verify that the plans accurately depict,
That's fine, yeah.
right, and are consistent throughout, and depict, like you mentioned, the logo properly, the stairs properly, et cetera. I have to restudy the main entrance to be at a more prominent, more visible location. Introduce or enliven the building by introducing more, finding opportunities to be more creative. For example, we talked about maybe through the use of colors. And I have another comment about the service canopy, so that's another condition. Am I along the lines that you were?
Well, I'm
Or should I
not sure
word it
that we were
differently?
trying to force them to change on the building itself. I was certainly trying to encourage a little bit more
Is
playfulness.
that the way it's kind of worded, okay?
I think that's okay, but I'm not sure that we were forcing them to try to do that.
Maybe if possible, find some opportunities to, create more interest in certain,
Within their
Exactly,
strictures,
within their
We understand
parameters.
that they have parameters, so yes.
Sorry, and just to clarify, were you speaking to change the entry location or more about?
To me, it was about the prominence of it.
Right.
The guidelines say entranceways should be prominent and clearly visible as an entranceway. So how they do that, I would trust staff to work with them on figuring out how to bring that about.
Okay.
So,
restudy the south facade and along the alley side by introducing more landscaping. And we're also including the conditions that staff had originally suggested.
Right.
So perhaps we can embellish that one.
yeah, I think
the report.
embellishing the staff's one, which we basically said to further articulate and soften the
Exactly.
building wall along the south side
And then we'll-
facade.
And the alley side.
And introduce more landscaping. So I think it's both to articulate and soften as well as add more landscaping.
Okay.
So.
Just a clarification to the board. Now, the way that the condition is currently listed under the staff's conditions is primarily,
It was to number 3, to further articulate and soften the building wall along the south side facing Cypress Street by introducing more landscaping, including a planter at the base, and vine or / a green wall. But in addition to
Well, it doesn't say
Cypress
by
Street.
introducing more
Yeah, it
landscaping.
doesn't say by.
To me, that means both of those things,
Yes.
not one.
I read it that way as well.
So we can modify that condition.
I think, and that's the clarification that I wanted to make sure, because the condition, the way it sort of reads now is just to soften the
Landscape.
building by introducing the landscaping at the base of the building. I believe from what I heard through the board, there's more concern of the actual materials and the
Right, correct.
Correct.
design
The
of
materials
actual
and
building.
design needs to
Materials,
be
colors, yes,
revamped.
exactly. Not just that.
Correct, yeah.
yes.
It's pretty stark and massive at the back there, and it definitely needs to be reconsidered.
So whether it's through the use of, color or other materials, in addition to the landscaping planners. at the base.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is that also on the alley side or just Cypress side?
I think it's going to be kind of hard to do on the alley side, at least landscaping wise. But, if what they're doing on the south side would also translate to the alley side, I think that would make sense. But
Right.
And again, just for clarification, going back to the previous condition, or the previous comment, the the location of the entrance is not being changed. It's just the actual prominence, the design of the entrance should
Right.
be
It
more.
could change as a result of that.
If-
I mean,
if
it's
it's
just,
possible,
it's a
is
question
what-
about how they go about creating that level of, that sense of entrance, the monumentality
Sense
of
of
it.
entrance,
Yes.
correct.
And I think Board Member Welch pointed out within the parameters of their corporate policy.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's, and, correct. And again, going back to the cypress, it would be more of a landscape plus additional design features to better integrate the entire design.
Correct.
Correct, that's right. That sounds good.
We mentioned to eliminate the use of the chain link fence, to use a higher quality material, and to provide more articulation, more information and plans to integrate the existing building that is proposed to remain, to be integrated with the new building, and to provide plans for staff review.
Right.
Do
Correct.
you want to add anything else to that, other than just that
The-
generic?
The service canopy?
Yeah, did
Yes,
you mention
it's-
that? Okay.
It's the service canopy, but I was also mentioning, and maybe I misunderstood, but also the car wash slash
Yeah.
workshop room.
Integrate
Yeah,
that.
To
Yes.
integrate that, to make sure it's holistic
Exactly.
with the design, right.
And that's all I have.
Just to be clear, the service canopy we're talking about is different from that separate building, right?
Yes.
So, okay, so there's condition to, go through and make an effort to make it more prominent or
Yes.
stand out, better scaling or something like that, to
Yes.
work with staff on improving that as a design feature.
Right, I had restudied the service canopy by articulating its facade and working with staff to get to that point. And then another condition is regarding modifying the existing building proposed to remain to be integrated with the new building and provide plans for staff review.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Sorry if I missed it, but in terms of the landscaping, was there, I know that the staff had a condition regarding the landscaping, but I feel like it really needs to be quite developed. And I had mentioned that one area, we were discussing that one area that was to the side of the new entry, that it was going to be pavers. It just, I would like to propose a condition that it actually be vegetation, or if it's not vegetation, replacing that amount of area somewhere else on the site. Just so that I feel like it needs a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit of
And that's the
softness.
location adjacent to the driveway facing
Correct.
Brand.
Correct.
No, you said the entry.
Oh,
Looking on the,
sorry.
I think she means the northeast corner of the building.
Oh, okay.
and so would you mind, Board
Oh,
Member
no,
Lockhart?
No, I thought it
actually, no,
was-
I was talking
you
about
are
this,
talking
yeah.
The service, yeah.
the-
You said the
Landscaping
entry.
that's circled
Right.
with the.
Correct.
Correct, and if, again, they really want that, to replace that area for a car, then replace it with landscaping somewhere else. Yeah.
So that's the area,
So it
not,
could-
not the.
Right, that's
oh,
the
okay.
area, but I just think that quantity of vegetation would be great for the site.
Yeah, it is one of the largest pieces of
Right.
landscaping on the lot.
So I have to propose landscaping instead of the paving if possible in that area.
Yeah, with the potential for relocating that area.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
right,
relocating it elsewhere.
Right. They want to put it next to the service area where people are sitting. That would be probably really, really nice for them. Or there are a lot of opportunities. Right.
Regarding the staff comment or condition regarding landscaping, it was really meant to depict the planters in the city's public right-of-way. It wasn't specific to on-site.
Yeah, so I think that this would probably need to be a separate condition.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's included as one of the conditions that we're including anyways, because we're keeping the staff conditions, so.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so in addition to the 5 conditions that staff had, and again, the modification to condition number 3, plus the other conditions that the board had, is there anything else?
Don't think so.
Okay,
That's it.
I'll move for an approval with conditions, with the 5 staff conditions plus the additional conditions that the board has proposed.
perfect. That was a motion by Board Member Welch,
I second the motion.
And then,
Before we go there, apologies. I believe we have the environmental review first.
it's just acknowledging, yes, thank you.
So we do need to,
do
we
that
do need to
first.
acknowledge the environmental review before we move to a
Isn't
decision.
the planning officer already
It's been adopted, so it's really just in your motion that we're just
But the board has to recognize it.
Oh, okay,
acknowledge it.
okay.
That's it.
Do we have
I
to
mean,
have a
we don't
vote
have
for
to
that,
do,
or-
we don't
No?
have to do a separate vote or anything for it. You just, you acknowledge that there's
We-
an M and D.
I acknowledge that there was an MND adopted.
I agree.
Acknowledge, yes.
So Board Member Welch made a motion, and we had a second by Board Member Lockriff. Okay. And roll call, and this is approved with conditions. Board Member Welch,
Yes.
Board Member Lockriff,
Yes.
Board Member Chagayan.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, and with that, there are no other items on tonight's agenda. So,
Move, we adjourn.
motion, all in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Great, 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.